Your body can feel like it's in love when it's actually in survival mode. And if you don't know the difference, you will keep calling anxiety a spark. You will keep calling tension chemistry. You will keep trusting what feels intense without stopping to ask whether it actually feels safe. Because what feels familiar and what is healthy are not always the same thing. And that matters, especially if your body learns survival before it ever learns safety. Hi, love. If you're new here, this is a space where we talk honestly about emotional patterns, relationships, self awareness, and the things that quietly shape our lives before we even have language for them. Because a lot of the time, the issue is not that something is obviously wrong, it's that something keeps feeling off, heavy, confusing, repetitive, like you keep ending up in the same emotional place with different faces. And that's what I want to talk about today. I think a lot of women have been taught to trust intensely without ever being taught to question it. We're taught that when somebody makes your heart race, that means there's something real there. When you can't stop thinking about them, that means it's deep. When something feels consuming, that means it matters. But sometimes what feels strong is not connection. Sometimes it's activation. Sometimes it's your body reacting to unpredictability, inconsistency, or emotional uncertainty before your mind has ever caught up. And if you don't understand that, you can spend a lot of time mistaking a triggered nervous system for attraction. That was something I had to learn the hard way. Hi, love. Before you go, if you want something you can actually work through off camera, I have a free Guard Your Proximity guide linked below. It's simple, it's grounding, and it gives you a starting point when you can feel yourself slipping into confusion. And here's the fun part: when we hit 100 subscribers, I'm celebrating with a giveaway. The reward is the full Guard Your Proximity workbook. This is a complete extensive PDF that goes deeper and walks you through how to guard your proximity and stay grounded. So, if you want that reward unlocked, subscribe and share the channel with someone who'd get value from this. The faster we hit 100, the faster the giveaway drops. Consider this my thank you for building this with me reward. Now let's get back to the video. Because for a long time, I didn't know there was a difference between being pulled in and being safe. I didn't know there was a difference between intensity and intimacy. I didn't know there was a difference between what my body recognized and what was actually good for me. So when something felt emotionally loud, I paid attention. When something stirred me up, I assumed it mattered. If I was thinking about it a lot, worrying about it a lot, feeling a lot, I treated that like proof that it was meaningful. But not every strong emotional response is truth. Not every pull is alignment. Not every sense of urgency is intuition. Sometimes it's just activation. And for me, that pattern didn't start in dating, it started much earlier. For most of my life, I wasn't functioning from peace. I was functioning from alertness. I was used to walking on eggshells, used to scanning the room, used to paying attention to tone, body, language, pauses, energy shifts, how somebody answered, how long they took, whether something felt off. I was always reading the atmosphere. And when you live like that for long enough, you stop realizing it's survival mode. You just think you're perceptive. You think you're observant. You think you're emotionally aware. But scanning is not peace. Hyper awareness is not safety. Constantly reading the room is not the same thing as being grounded. It just means your body learned that it could not fully relax. And when that becomes your baseline, you carry it everywhere, into conversations, into love, into conflict, into silence, dating, and into attachment. So now, even neutral things can feel loaded. A pause can feel suspicious. A shift in tone can feel like danger. Distance can feel like rejection. Inconsistency can pull you in harder instead of pushing you back. That is what activation looked like for me. It wasn't always something dramatic, it's not always a breakdown. A lot of the time, it looks like overthinking, tension, bracing, obsessing over small changes, struggling to fully exhale, feeling deeply affected by another person's mood or behavior. And that's important because a lot of women think activation only counts if it looks extreme, and it doesn't. Sometimes activation looks like obsessing over a text, reading into a tone shift, feeling your stomach drop over something small, needing reassurance, then not trusting it when it comes, feeling unsettled by silence, distance, or unpredictability, and then scrambling. Scrambling internally to make sense of it. That is still activation. And because it happens so fast, it can feel natural. It can feel convincing. It can feel like chemistry because activation feels alive. It feels charged. It pulls your attention in. It makes you focus. It makes you care. And because we live in a culture that romanticizes intensity, a lot of women are taught to interpret that feeling as a sign that something is special. But here's the question that changed things for me. Does this feel powerful because it's safe and aligned? Or does it feel powerful because my nervous system has been trained to wake up around unpredictability? That is not the same question. And it leads to very different choices. Because when your body has been conditioned by stress, inconsistency, or emotional instability, it does not always respond to unpredictability by stepping back. Sometimes it locks in. Sometimes it becomes more alert, more focused, more emotionally invested. Not because the connection is healthy, but because the body recognizes the terrain. It knows the pattern. It knows how to operate in uncertainty. It knows how to track shifts, read between the lines, wait for signals, try to secure clarity, and call all of that connection. And that's where so much confusion happens. A lot of us are not choosing what feels peaceful. We're choosing what feels known. And known does not always mean healthy. Known can mean emotional distance, it can mean inconsistency, it can mean having to work for clarity. Known can mean staying on alert. It can even mean feeling like your peace depends on how the other person is showing up that day. That's survival logic. And survival logic makes sense when survival was actually necessary. So, this is not about shaming yourself for how your body learned to cope. If your body learned to scan, brace, or stay ready, it learned that for a reason. But just because a pattern makes sense does not mean it should keep leading your life. That was the shift for me. I had to learn that activation is not proof of connection. It is proof that my nervous system is engaged. That's all. It does not automatically mean safety. It does not automatically mean compatibility. It does not automatically mean intimacy. And it definitely does not automatically mean love. Sometimes it just means something in me has been stirred. And if I don't slow down enough to ask why, I will start assigning meaning to a reaction I haven't actually examined yet. This is how we stay stuck. Not because we're foolish, not because we're desperate, but because activation is persuasive. It feels important. It feels like truth. It feels like something you should trust immediately. And if you don't know what your body has been trained to respond to, you will keep glorifying what exhausts you. You will keep calling anxiety butterflies. You will keep calling tension passion. You will keep calling emotional unpredictability chemistry. And you'll keep wondering why what pulls you in also keeps draining you. That is why so many women confuse activation with attraction, because attraction can be calm, but activation is loud. Attraction can be steady, but activation is consuming. Attraction can leave room for you to breathe, but activation keeps you emotionally busy. And if your body is more familiar with being busy than being safe, calm can actually feel underwhelming at first. That's the part people don't talk about enough. A steady person may not create fireworks in an activated body. Consistency may feel quiet. Peace may feel almost too normal. And if you've been conditioned to associate love with intensity, you can mistake steadiness for boredom and chaos for chemistry. But being consumed by someone is not the same thing as being connected to them. Thinking about them all day is not the same thing as being safe with them. Feeling a strong reaction is not the same thing as having a strong foundation. Sometimes the reason you can't stop thinking about someone is not because they're right for you. Sometimes it's because your body has not settled around them. An unsettled body will keep searching for resolution. It will keep trying to decode, secure, predict, and stabilize something that doesn't actually feel safe enough to rest in. That's not peace, that's effort. And effort gets romanticized all the time. But just because something takes up a lot of emotional space doesn't mean it deserves the space. So I really need you to hear me on this. Stop automatically glorifying what exhausts you. Stop assuming that what hits the hardest is what's deepest. Stop treating every strong reaction like it's a divine sign. Sometimes it's not intuition. Sometimes it's a wound being touched. Sometimes it's an old pattern being reactivated. Sometimes it's your body recognizing something familiar and trying to survive it, not your soul recognizing something meant for you. And when you start understanding that, your choices can change. You can slow down. You can stop handing meaning to every rush of emotion. You can stop trusting urgency more than consistency. You can stop confusing a charged body with a clear answer. And you can start asking better questions. Does this person bring me peace or do they keep me preoccupied? Do I feel safe here or just stimulated? Am I actually connected or am I activated? Because those are not small questions. They can change the kind of love you accept, and they can change the kind of patterns you keep repeating. And they can change the relationship you have with your own body. Because the goal is not to shame yourself for what you've been drawn to. The goal is to become honest about why. The goal is to recognize when your nervous system is reaching for what is familiar, even when familiar has never truly felt good. And the more honest you get about that, the less likely you are to keep calling survival mode love. And I think that this is the part a lot of women need to sit with. Just because something feels intense does not mean that it's healthy. Just because your body lights up does not mean you have found connection. And just because calm feels unfamiliar does not mean that it's wrong. Sometimes what you're calling chemistry is really just activation. Sometimes what you are calling a spark is your nervous system recognizing chaos it already knows how to survive. And sometimes peace feels boring, not because it lacks depth, but because your body has been trained to expect tension. That is a hard realization, but it's an important one. Because if you do not learn the difference, you'll keep romanticizing what dysregulates you and overlooking what could actually be safe for you. So, if you saw yourself anywhere in this video, I do not want you to leave feeling ashamed. I want you to leave more aware. I want you to start noticing what your body does, what you call attraction, what you call chemistry, and whether what pulls you in is actually giving you peace. In part two, I want to get into what happens after that realization, what regulation has actually looked like for me in real life, how I had to stop letting fear and anxiety lead my reactions, how this showed up in my marriage, and how to tell the difference between anxiety and intuition. Because awareness is the first step. But learning how to respond differently, that is where the real work begins. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this video gave you something to think about, you can like, subscribe, or share it with someone else who might need to hear it too. I'm always grateful when you're here, and I really do hope this helped you put words to something you may have been feeling for a while. And if you need somewhere to start or you want more support around this, there are resources in the description, and I'll have them here on the screen too. Take what you need, leave what you don't. Move at your own pace, and I'll see you next time.